Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Julia Chinnock, a member of this congregation. Leading service with me today is worship team member Rhonda Rodriguez. Also joining me in today's service is Richard Champalbart, Board of Trustees member Allison McMillan, worship associate Allison Essen, and our music team, including music director Audrey, Connelly-Candelario, and the folk ensemble. We want to lift up our tech team, our welcome team, child care team, and everyone else in the background that brings our service together each week. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements, go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We have a few special announcements today as October is a very busy month for us. Announcement 1. Today after service, we were planning to hold a Q&A panel about issues in K-12 education in Central Florida, but unfortunately 2 of the panelists had to withdraw, so we need to cancel that event, but absolutely not canceled is our volunteer fiesta, which continues this week. So please take time after the service today to visit Gore Hall, check out the tables, and consider lending your time and talents to some groups and committees. Also, we're seeking volunteers for One U's tent at the Central Florida Veg Fest on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022. See our weekly update or contact Mary DuBois, our program assistant, Gabby. Also, save the date. The Orlando Come Out with Pride Parade will be held on Saturday, October 15th at Lake Eola. 1U and Triple U will be there. We'll need volunteers to staff the 1U booth and participants for the parade. Stay tuned for more details. And I'm very excited about this. We have a first. It's a skating party in partnership with the Milk District using our perfect circular paved parking lot on October 13th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. See the weekly update for details. I will be there. Yeah, right? Woohoo! iDignity, our Share the Plate partner, is in need of wallets. So once their clients have obtained their driver's license and other important documents, many don't have a secure place to store them. So providing a wallet can make their day. We'll be collecting them in Gore Hall at 1U Central. All other announcements are on the slides before and after the service and have links in the weekly update or on our website. Thanks again for being here in person and online. Let's get started.
Hello. Good morning. Please say these words with me as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Please rise in body or spirit and join the folk ensemble in singing our opening hymn, number 348, Guide My Feet. The words will be projected on the screen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good morning. Today's opening words are from Sophia Lyon-Fahs. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with the upward thrust of life. In one way or another, books serve as a treasure trove of a society's beliefs. And when one segment of a society seeks to block another segment of society from accessing beliefs, then we are all damaged. And that's our subject for today as we come to the end of Banned Books Week. Who has the right to decide what belongs? And who pays the consequences when those decisions are made? Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist." One of the great things about being part of a UU congregation is being open to many ways of living and ways of believing. That openness is what draws newcomers here to 1U and what's kept some of us coming back for years and even decades. So let's take a few moments now to say hello to each other. And if someone is sitting near you wearing a red tag, please welcome them to 1U and thank them for joining us today.
And now let's continue with our service. So wonderful to greet each other in person, isn't it? So it's our Story for All Ages time. And would any young people or those who are young at heart like to join us up front for today's story? If you do, come on up. Okay. So this is what we like to call a poem story. If you saw the words in print, it would look like a poem, but it doesn't have rhymes and rhythms like a typical poem. We call that free verse, And that's kind of important because this story is about a little boy who wants the freedom to do things that are different from what we might usually do. He doesn't want to be typical, but there are obstacles keeping him from doing that. Let's see what happens. Once, a little boy went to school. One morning, when the little boy had been in the school a while, his teacher said, "Today we are going to make a picture." "Good," said the little boy. He liked to make pictures. He could make all kinds: lions and tigers, chickens and cows, trains and boats. And he took out his box of crayons and began to draw. But the teacher said, "Wait, it's not time to begin." And she waited until everyone looked ready. "Now," the teacher said, "we are going to make flowers." Good, thought the little boy. He liked to make flowers. And he began to make beautiful ones with his pink and orange and blue crayons. But his teacher said, "Wait, and I'll show you how." And it was red with a green stem. "There," said the teacher, "now you may begin." The little boy looked at the teacher's flower, then he looked at his own flower. He liked his flower better than the teacher's, but he did not say this. He just turned his paper over and made a flower like the teacher's. It was red with a green stem. On another day, when the little boy had opened the door from the outside all by himself, the teacher said, "Today we are going to make something with clay." Good, thought the little boy. Snakes and snowmen, elephants and mice, cars and trucks. And he began to pull and pinch his ball of clay. But the teacher said, "Wait, it's not time to begin." And she waited until everyone looked ready. "Now," said the teacher, "we are going to make a dish." He liked to make dishes, and he began to make some that were all shapes and sizes. But the teacher said, "Wait, and I'll show you how." And she showed everyone how to make a deep dish. "There," said the teacher, "now you may begin." The little boy looked at the teacher's dish, and then he looked at his own. He liked his dish better than the teacher's, but he did not say this. He just rolled his clay into a big ball again and made a dish like the teacher's. It was a deep dish. And pretty soon the little boy learned to wait and to watch and to make things just like the teacher. And pretty soon he didn't make things of his own anymore. Then it happened that the little boy and his family moved to another house in another city, and the little boy had to go to another school. And the very first day he was there, the teacher said, "Today we are going to make a picture." Good, thought the little boy, and he waited for the teacher to tell him what to do. But the teacher didn't say anything. She just walked around the room. When she came to the little boy, she said, "Don't you want to make a picture?" "Yes," said the little boy. "What are we going to make?" "I don't know until you make it," said the teacher. "How shall I make it?" said the little boy. "Why, any way you like," said the teacher. "Any color?" asked the little boy. "Any color," said the teacher. "If everyone made the same picture and they used the same colors, how would I know who made what?" "I don't know," said the little boy. And he began to make a red flower with a green stem. So what was it that kept that little boy from doing the drawings and making the clay the way he wanted to in his first school? What kept him from speaking what he was really feeling inside? And how can we decide whether it's better to say how we feel or follow the rules? Okay. We had fun last week making a shelter to sing out the children. Even though no children have come up, would those of you on the aisle, if you're willing and able, please stand and form a bridge as if we had children that were going to go out through our protective tunnel while we sing them out with "This Little Light of Mine."
I'm Allison McMillan from your Board of Trustees. We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It is one of our spiritual values which sustains the life and ministries of the church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Note that you can also give online. If you're a guest visiting for the first time, there's no expectation that you give. We are simply glad that you chose to be here with us this morning. You may also support this month's Share the Plate partner, iDignity, by finding a link to their organization in our weekly newsletter. The mission of iDignity is to assist in obtaining Florida ID cards and licenses, birth certificates, Social Security cards, and other documents needed to obtain an ID or license. The offering will now be collected. Let us joyfully receive what is offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship.
It is now the time that we set aside to share. If you have a sorrow that you need witnessed or help carrying, or have a joy that you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday during worship. You can send an email to joysandconcerns@orlandouu.org during the week. Additionally, if you are attending in person, you can also fill out a card at the registration table and hand it to an usher before the start of service. And as far as I know, we weren't given any specific joys and concerns for today. But this week, we want to acknowledge our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico who continue to struggle without power after Hurricane Fiona. And we hold concern and care for all those in Cuba and the Cayman Islands and throughout Florida who are feeling stress and strain waiting to see what will happen with Tropical Storm Ian. If you have a joy or sorrow that you wish to acknowledge, but not necessarily speak out loud, you'll be invited to participate in our candle lighting ceremony in a few moments. First, I would like to invite us into prayer meditation with words from Wind, Water, Sun by Seth Carrier Ladd. As you listen, close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Focus on your breathing and feel all the parts of you relax, top to bottom, outside and inside. Wind that whispers through the willow trees. Sun that sustains us. Water that washes through the earth. A smile shared and savored. A child's squeal of delight as she dances in the daisies and daffodils. The quiet joy of gathered community. This is the spirit of life and love that we call forth into this gathering. May this spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us forward like a wave on the ocean. And continue to breathe. As you hold on to these words, I invite you now to come up to our candle altar and light a candle if you are so moved. Please take a moment to anchor your candle securely in the sand before leaving the altar. We will sing our centering hymn as the candles are being lit, and Audrey will help us get started.
Today's reading is from Paul Stephan Dodenhoff, The Freedom to Doubt. The freedom to doubt, to question, to be content to live in mystery is central to liberal religious tradition. Like the process of evolution itself, the path that we follow, our practice, if you will, is not easy or simple. It isn't without its dead ends or its disappointments. It doesn't guarantee that all our conclusions will be final or that we will ever find an answer to all our questions. But also, like the process of evolution, it is filled with great expressions of beauty and awe that are sometimes born of great struggle and at other times come as unexpected grace.
When I was little, my favorite books to read were the Little House on the Prairie books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I used to fantasize about traveling back in time and living during those days. I would try to recreate scenes from the books. There's a scene near the end of By the Shores of Silver Lake where the family is working to build a new house, and they lose track of baby Grace. They're afraid she's wandered into Big Slough, where babies can get lost for good and drown in swampy places. While the rest of the family looks in the slough, Laura strikes out on her own in the prairie and finds baby Grace, perfectly safe, playing in a patch of violets on the hidden side of a hill. I had a lot of time by myself growing up. Behind my house, there was a large, empty field. It was undeveloped state land. I used to go back there with one of my dolls and pretend I was Laura, and the doll was baby Grace, and I would hide the doll away and then go do something else, and then pretend to suddenly discover she was missing and go hunt her down in the prairie. That's what good books do for us when we are kids. They transport. They pull us into the lives of the characters. We imagine ourselves living those situations. And if we are kids who feel as if we don't belong, books become even more important. When it seems like there is nobody in the real world who appreciates the person that we are or the person that we hope to be, at least we can depend on a book to find that person who is like us, and we can dream until that book is taken away. Genderqueer is a memoir about the author growing up and coming out as non-binary. It's a graphic novel, which means it's written in comic book style. I can't help but wonder if the author had just stuck to words without pictures, if there would have been no problems, because the people who have fought for it to be banned often claimed that they had issues with sexually explicit images in the book. For a young person who is non-binary or who is trying to figure out what their gender identity might be, reading a book like Genderqueer can be the difference between feeling like they're all alone in the world and feeling like there is somebody, somewhere, who feels the same way they do. Someone who gets it. And when one considers that according to the Trevor Project, an LGBTQ+ youth attempts suicide every 45 seconds. Not feeling all alone in the world becomes a very important thing. And the last thing you need is to hear people describing your feelings with words like obscene, pornographic, and likely illegal. And yet those are words that have been used to describe this book by those who have successfully banned it from schools. Book banning is nothing new. It's been happening in the United States since colonial times, when Thomas Morton's book, New English Canaan, harshly criticized Puritan customs, and in return was banned by the Puritans. When I was a teenager, I knew I wasn't going to find Judy Blume's Forever or anything by V.C. Andrews in my high school library. This, despite the fact that the Supreme Court ruled in 1982 in Island Trees School District versus Pico that the First Amendment protects not only the right to express ideas, but also the right to receive them. That the First Amendment included the right to read library books of the student's choosing. And most importantly, that, quote, "We hold that local school boards may not remove books from school library shelves simply because they dislike the ideas contained in those books and seek by their removal to prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion." But lately, the quest to ban books seems to have picked up steam, and Central Florida is right in the middle of it. Moms for Liberty has chapters all over the country, but they got their start in and maintain their headquarters just down the road in Melbourne. Their mission, according to their website, is anything involving parental rights and issues that affect the education of America's children. It's important to note that they are not concerned about the education of their membership's children. They are concerned about the education of America's children, your children, as well as theirs. And they are achieving this mission by targeting school boards. So it shouldn't come as any surprise that some Central Florida counties have extremely high numbers of banned books, according to PEN America. Brevard County, where Moms for Liberty is located, has 42. And Indian River County, right next door to Brevard, has 161. We already know one of these books, Genderqueer. What are some of the others? This one, It's Perfectly Normal by Robbie Harris, probably is not surprising, especially now that there is state legislation forbidding any discussion of or education about sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Luckily, this book is one of the mainstays of the UU Our Whole Lives program. This one, 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, might not surprise you either. The argument against this book is that it could provoke ideas in those students who might be tempted to bring a gun to school. Provoking ideas is a common theme. This book, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, hits the list because of the fear that it will provoke ideas among teens with mental health issues and that suicide rates will increase as a result. And this book, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, has been banned because it portrays police violence against African Americans. In Florida, it would be considered an example of critical race theory and would encourage children to, as our governor puts it, quote, hate this country and hate each other. Notice on the cover that one of the positive reviewers of the book was John Green, who called it stunning. John Green is no stranger to censorship. This book, Looking for Alaska, by John Green, was on the market for years with no problems at all until, as Green himself explained, quote, a parent chose one particular page of the novel to show an administrator, and then the book gets banned without anyone who objects to it having read more than that particular page. The scene in question involves a very awkward and ultimately failed attempt at oral sex, which is described in very cold and clinical language. In fact, the entire passage includes only one adjective, nervous. It's worth noting that John Green grew up in Orange County, and that an effort was made to ban this book in Orange County because of that scene. That effort was unsuccessful. Speaking of award-winning books on the banned list, this novel by Sherman Alexie has been targeted quite a bit. According to the American Library Association, in 2017, a school board in Nome, Alaska, eliminated True Diary from an alternative reading list for high school students. It was removed because Alexie writes candidly about alcoholism and violence against children. It was removed, along with Alice Walker's The Color Purple, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, Khalid Hosseini's The Kite Runner, and J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, and was the only novel of the four restored after a contentious school board meeting. The removals happened as a result of a single parent's complaint about content in the books. As John Green has said, ultimately, if you have a worldview that can be undone by a novel, let me submit that the problem is not with the novel. What's really at issue here is a single parent complaining, and that complaint going on to impact every child in the district. This is what we're seeing with groups like Moms for Liberty. One parent or small handfuls of parents agitating, and thousands of children being affected as a result. So what's to be done? Well, we could just do what one of my personal heroes, LeVar Burton, says in this video clip from The Daily Show.
Hey y'all, LeVar Burton here, and I am so excited to read with you today. Our first selection is called Rosa, and it's the story of Rosa Parks, who... So, as it turns out, that book is banned because reading about segregation is divisive. But since almost any book with black people these days is considered divisive, here's one that doesn't have any people in it at all. It's about two penguins and their little baby. Both penguins are boys. Well, I'm told that that book is also banned because of sexual perversion, which is weird because there's no sex in the book at all. Y'all, they adopted the baby. What do you guys want? A mommy and a daddy penguin so the kids can make sure that the penguins are knocking boots? All right, I've got one that they can't possibly have a problem with. Hop on Pop. What? Disrespectful to parents? You gotta be kidding me. All right, listen, there are plenty of books to choose from. But you know what? No. Read the books they don't want you to. That's where the good stuff is. They're coming. Read banned books!
But is that really enough? Our second principle calls for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. There is a certain sense of collectivism and community in that. It's about doing what we can to make changes in the system. So yes, read banned books, but consider also doing what we can to help bring banned books to others. We can support teachers like Summer Boismier, an Oklahoma teacher who gave students a QR code that would allow them to access banned books from the Brooklyn Public Library. A parent complained. Ms. Boismier resigned her post and has since received threatening emails with phrases like, "does not deserve to live amongst us," and faces the Oklahoma Secretary of Education's effort to have her teaching certification terminated. That official, Ryan Walters, stated that there is no place for a teacher with a liberal political agenda in the classroom. We also can continue to work on our fifth principle and cultivating our own conscience. One of the arguments that people make when we confront them about banning books like 13 Reasons Why is, well, you banned this. How is what we're doing any different? We didn't ban it, is the counterargument. The publishers chose to stop publishing it after a committee determined that some of the illustrations were racist because of their portrayal of Asian Americans. Similar arguments have been made about Gone with the Wind and Huckleberry Finn. that as a society, we have grown past those portrayals of African Americans. Some say that we need to stop hanging on to them. But does not hanging on to them mean erasing them? There used to be an award for children's literature. It was called the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. It was given to authors for a lasting career contribution to the field. The award is still given, but not in that name. The name was removed by the American Library Association because of concerns that Laura Ingalls Wilder portrayed Native Americans in a negative way in this book, Little House on the Prairie. And because in another book in the series, Little Town on the Prairie, she depicts a town entertainment in which white men wore blackface and danced and sang vaudeville style. Because of this, the ALA said, it was sending the wrong message to children to have an award named after her. When people try to ban books like 13 Reasons Why, we argue that it's better to have an open, honest discussion about mental health and suicide. When they try to ban books like Gender Queer, we argue that it's better to have an open, honest discussion about gender identity. Along the same lines, is it not better to have an open, honest discussion about the treatment of Native Americans and blackface and vaudeville, and to include in that discussion why authors writing 100 and more years ago used the names and phrases they did when they wrote books, why they wrote from the life lens they were living and experiencing in history, instead of dismissing those authors as historical rejects. If we erase those authors and dismiss their words as hurtful words that children shouldn't read, what makes us different from Moms for Liberty? One of the things you youth are trying hard to do is to look at ourselves and ask the tough questions. I think it might be time to ask this tough question: who decides what belongs? At the end of the day, when it comes to a book on the shelf, do we have the right to say that is it really up to anyone but the human being who discovers that book, with the guidance of their own family or personal support system that might be present in their lives, no matter whether or not we personally agree with the opinions or situations that are waiting to be discovered within the pages? And now please join us in singing our closing hymn, number 170. We are a gentle, angry people. Let's close today with these words from Tanya Marquez. Do not fear agitation. Do not fear agitation, for agitation is the rhythm of life itself, to be put into motion, to be stirred. Do not fear the movements that decenter what you always thought permanent. You carry within the center of your understanding the compass to show you the way. Carry with you the love that will hold you, the vision that will guide you, the relationships to all beings, and the world that will ground you. Go in peace and in gentle agitation to stir this world to the side of love. And now, to borrow Reverend Margolie's phrase, worship has ended, and now the service truly begins.
Please say these words with me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.